Did Wendy's end up in hot water for something other than the infamous finger chili incident? And what famous franchise was accused of throwing floor food into their meat processing machines? Some of these claims may inspire you to eat in tonight. A deep voice exclaiming, "We have the meats," might be one of the first things you think of when Arby's comes up. But what exactly are those meats? This was the question that surrounded the restaurant back in 1997, after a rumor started circulating that the company's signature roast beef wasn't really roast beef at all, but rather a combination of gels, liquids, and pastes that formed an imitation meat.
Arby's. Technically, it's food.
Thankfully, Arby's announced there was absolutely no truth to the urban legend and that its beef was entirely made out of beef. Jim Lauder, the brand's quality assurance representative, told Snopes, "Thank you for doing your part to curb the urban legend about Arby's roast beef. I'm sure I'm not the first to express frustration about this type of story." The answer to your question is no. Our product does not arrive as a paste, gel, or liquid. Subway has been the subject of several weird rumors over the years, but one of the nastiest stories has to do with one specific ingredient: tuna. Several lawsuits accused the sandwich franchise of using tuna that was far from being actual tuna. According to NPR, a marine biologist analyzed 20 samples from 20 different Subway franchises and found, quote, "no detectable tuna DNA sequences whatsoever in 19 of them.
Yummy!
Here's the kicker. Other types of animal DNA, like chicken and pork, were found instead. Despite the bombshell accusation, Subway fired back and asserted its tuna was the real deal. In an email to the New York Times, a spokesperson wrote, "Subway delivers 100% cooked tuna to its restaurants, which is mixed with mayonnaise and used in freshly made sandwiches, wraps, and salads that are served to and enjoyed by our guests." In response to the allegations, Subway even put together a dedicated website page debunking the myths about its tuna. Still, the lawsuit has been ongoing for years. Turns out the tuna scandal wasn't the only time Subway was accused of selling mystery meat to unknowing customers. According to a disturbing study by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the sandwich shop was serving poultry meat that only contained 50% chicken DNA. When you get a piece of chicken from the store, it should be 100% chicken. However, once seasoned and cooked, that percentage can slightly decrease. In the study, the lab tested samples from several fast food chains, including A&W, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, and Wendy's, all of which tested in the high 80s for the chicken content. Subway, on the other hand, only landed 53.6% for its oven-roasted chicken and a meager 42.8% for its chicken strips. The rest of the chicken was mostly soy, something that didn't sit well with the general public.
We expected 100% chicken.
Subway, of course, fired back at the CBC. A spokesperson told NPR, "The accusations made by CBC Marketplace about the content of our chicken are absolutely false and misleading. Our chicken is 100% white meat with seasonings, marinated and delivered to our stores as a finished, cooked product. We have advised them of our strong objections. We do not know how they produced such unreliable and factually incorrect data, but we are insisting on a full retraction." Despite this official retort, CBC has not retracted their story. Human flesh burgers. That headline surrounded Dairy Queen back in 2019 thanks to a false accusation made at a South Carolina branch of the popular franchise. Federal agents raided the restaurant, leading to claims that the raid was because a man accused the fast food joint of serving human meat in the burgers. Although Dairy Queen was quick to announce on Twitter that its burgers are 100% beef, the story set off a chain reaction of rumors over the internet. However, the accusations were put to rest when news outlets reported the raid actually had to do with an unlicensed money transfer operation. When asked about human flesh being in Dairy Queen meat, Greenwood County Coroner Sonny Cox told Index Journal, "I can honestly say that it's the first I've heard of it, and I don't see any validity in that at all. There's little to no chance of anything like that ever being able to happen." In 2014, Pizza Hut went through an international scandal that involved beef and chicken from a Chinese supplier that was well past the expiration dates. Apparently, the products were simply repackaged and given a new expiration date before being sold. An undercover reporter at the factory found workers using expired chicken skin for chicken nuggets, and even more horrifically, throwing discarded food from the floor into the meat processing machines. Pizza Hut wasn't the only fast food conglomerate to be affected by the Chinese supplier. McDonald's and KFC were both getting meats from the supplier as well. Although this may have been an isolated incident, Pizza Hut doesn't have the best track record when it comes to healthy ingredients. In 2009, the franchise made a bold announcement saying, Pizza Hut is redefining quality in the pizza category, getting rid of things like artificial preservatives, beef fillers, and high fructose corn syrup. But the company quietly backtracked on its healthy promises shortly later. And more recently, the Humane League specifically called out pizza chains, including Pizza Hut, for their inhumane treatment of chickens. When you put the words Wendy's chili and controversy together, the first thing that likely comes to mind is one particular case that happened way back in 2005.
Now we turn to the story everybody is talking about, the finger in the Wendy's chili.
As the story goes, a woman was eating at a San Jose branch of the restaurant when she found part of a human finger in her chili. It was later discovered that her husband got the severed finger from a coworker. She cooked and planted the finger in the chili, leading the fast food chain to lose around $21 million in business from the incident. However, there's even more controversy around Wendy's famous chili. Employees have revealed on online platforms that the bulk of the chili is recycled and sometimes older hamburger meat. One Redditor wrote that she would never order the chili. The meat comes from the leftover meat on the grill that dries out. It's then cut up, frozen, and bagged for later use in the chili. It's not unhealthy and it won't make you sick or anything. It just doesn't quite sit right with me. One doctor who spoke to She Finds says combining patties that have been kept at room temperature for hours is just food poisoning waiting to happen. Is Wendy's being extra sustainable by reducing, reusing, and recycling? Or is it just plain nasty? You be the judge. For many people, the idea of fast food mystery meat often conjures up images of ground beef from one place in particular, Taco Bell. Back in 2011, the Yum Brands food chain was sued for its seasoned ground beef. According to Fox News, the attorney representing the lawsuit said the meat consisted of only, quote, 35% beef, with the remaining 65% containing water, wheat oats, soy lecithin, maltodextrin, anti-dusting agent, and modified cornstarch. Although the lawsuit was eventually withdrawn, Taco Bell became more transparent with its advertising, spending millions to protect its reputation. The franchise released several videos and web pages publicizing that the product was 88% beef and 12% its signature recipe. The company even got a little bit snarky with an ad campaign headline that read, "Thank you for suing us," followed by a full-page ad explaining the contents of its ground beef. The company's CEO at the time, Greg Creed, came out with a statement to reassure customers about the fine quality of the beef product. He went on to say that it was unfortunate the attorneys had not reached out prior to initiating the public lawsuit that painted the company in such a bad light. Taco Bell's beef is indeed beef, well, 88% beef at least. In 2013, a very mysterious meat made its way into Burger King burgers, and not the kind customers wanted: horse meat. For weeks, the burger giant completely denied any allegations that horse meat was being served in its burgers, assuring customers that its meat hadn't been affected by the European-wide horse meat scandal at the time. But after new tests showed its burgers did indeed contain trace amounts of horse meat, Burger King was forced to admit the truth. It turned out the meat could be traced back to an Irish-based meat processing company called Silvercrest, which in turn imported offcuts of meat, including horse, from Poland. Burger King wasn't the only company involved in Horsegate. Tesco, Aldi, and other brands also sold contaminated meat from the supplier. Although food safety experts say that eating horse meat doesn't have any health risks, people became concerned at the fast food company's ability to trace ingredients used in its kitchens. Burger King's vice president, Diego Biamonte, passed the blame back to the supplier and promised consumers that this issue would never occur again. The company promptly replaced all Silvercrest products with a different supplier. Despite the admission, people weren't happy. Several organizations condemned the chain's terrible handling of the situation and lack of transparency. It's hard to blame them for it, especially if they had unknowingly eaten a horse burger. On his show, Jamie Oliver's Food Revolution, celebrity chef Jamie Oliver revealed that a pink slime used as filler in McDonald's burger meat was made with fatty beef offcuts covered in ammonium hydroxide. Pink slime wasn't actually a novel occurrence in the industry. The term was originally coined in 2002 by a microbiologist at the U.S. Department of Agriculture to label lean, finely textured beef used in the meat processing industry. However, Oliver publicly denounced its use on his show and presented its unappetizing raw state on the air. Basically, we're taking a product that would be sold at the cheapest form for dogs, and after this process, we can give it to humans. After months of campaigning and media hammering, McDonald's announced it would stop using the beef filler in its burgers. It was a win for burger lovers everywhere. Nobody wants pink slime mixed in with their food. Many people agree KFC's fried chicken is absolutely delicious, and most would credit that to the Colonel's secret blend of spices.
It's finger-licking good.
Others, however, might point to more devious strategies, like, say, genetically modifying chickens in order to create bigger, meatier birds. In 2014, a rumor began to spread that the company rebranded from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC, not because it's easier to say, but because it was legally required to do so due to a bogus story that it was creating mutant chickens with extra limbs. Of course, the theory was debunked by platforms like Snopes, but that wouldn't be the last time KFC was accused of selling questionable meat. In 2015, a customer claimed they were served a deep-fried rat. After lab tests, KFC announced that the rat was indeed chicken that just happened to be shaped like a rat. Sure, KFC's fried chicken may not be the healthiest food in the world, but at least the chain isn't serving up rats, genetically modified or otherwise. Back in the day, McDonald's was quite open about cooking its French fries in 93% beef fat tallow. The aim was to cut costs, but the result was delicious fries that became famous around the world. Just about everyone loved them until a prominent businessman named Phil Sokoloff had a heart attack, which he blamed on cholesterol from fast food. This led to a decades-long fight against McDonald's fries until the company finally relented and swapped beef tallow for 100% vegetable oil. With the change, many vegetarians and vegans thought that they would now be able to enjoy the famous fries, but they were wrong. To mimic the world-famous taste the beef tallow gave the fries, McDonald's used natural beef flavors. The problem? McDonald's didn't publicly announce this ingredient change. This brought on a wave of outrage, especially from vegetarians, vegans, and people from religious backgrounds that don't allow the consumption of beef tallow. In 2001, 2 Hindu vegetarians from Seattle sued McDonald's for deceiving its customers with its fries. The fast food giant fired back and said it never claimed its fries were vegetarian. In the end, though, McDonald's settled and agreed to donate $10 million to various groups for mislabeling its fries.
Well, I'm about to send you the craziest video you've ever watched. In BBC News, they showed us that they're growing human meat in labs, that they said it would be cheaper on the shelf in Tesco's and certain other shopping places.
You can't beat British grub. But these days, you've got to spend a packet to bring home the bacon. And don't even get me started on the eggs.
The cost of living crisis is hitting Britain hard, with food prices rising at the fastest rate in 40 years.
But now, a new line of affordable protein is hitting our shelves. This is engineered human meat.
That's right, a protein made from human cells that promises to be cheaper and tastier than any of its competitors.
I'm Greg Wallace.
And I'm off to visit Good Harvest, where a whopping 6 tons of human meat is engineered every day.
That is stunning.
With the promise of cheap meat for all, it may well be the meaty miracle we need to ease the squeeze of the cost of living.
Anyone for human meat? I'm Michelle Ackley, and while Greg comes face to face with the production line, I'll be conducting a taste test with some very picky palates.
It's really, tender. For the first time, we're going to find out where it comes from, how it's made, whoa, and what it tastes like.
No, there's more. These people are something else. So now they've rolled out that meat. And if you see the way they're selling it in the supermarkets, it's very deceiving. You have to read the small print to let you know that you're eating human. It would say human meat for humans, by humans, but in little letters. So you just say for humans.
Human meat growing thing that they are doing, for those of us who want to see the rest of it. Like, my goodness, the world we live in, what the hell? What the actual hell? And anyone else notice what they did with the background music? How it's so upbeat, like what is happening in the video is normal.
To see the mysteries that lay inside. How do you solve the cost of living crisis with engineered human meat? It sounds like magic.
And this is where the magic happens.
The Good Harvest processing plant has been up and running for over 8 months. It contains both industrial and clinical operations on a site the size of 4 football pitches.
Hey, are you Mick?
I certainly am. Pleased to meet you, Greg.
Very good to meet you. I'm here to learn.
Right, come this way and I'll show you how it all works.
I want to see everything.
Oh, you will.
Mick Ross oversees the production line and is in charge of over 60 full-time staff who engineer roughly 50,000 steaks every day.
So come on then, Mick. How on earth do you grow human meat?
I want to introduce you to our nutrient vat.
Hello, nutrient vat, Greg Wise, telepresenter, and your job is?
Well, what its job is, it processes thin slices of tissue in a nutrient-rich mix, which you see here, and then cells start to grow. So over a 24-hour period, these will slowly fuse together into one great big, what we call a cake.
So you're telling me that that is human flesh?
Exactly.
But why human meat? Why not animal meat?
That's a very good question. We've got centuries of knowledge of human medicine at our side. We know more about humans than we do about animals. So we've mastered engineering human cells to make these structured flavours and sinews that we expect from the flavours of steaks we eat.
That's right, a protein made from human cells that promises to be cheaper and tastier than any of its competitors.
I'm Greg Wallace.
And I'm off to visit Good Harvest, where a whopping 6 tons of human meat is engineered every day.
That is stunning.
With the promise of cheap meat for all, it may well be the meaty miracle we need to ease the squeeze of the cost of. I couldn't wait to see the mysteries that lay inside. How do you solve the cost of living crisis with engineered human meat? It sounds like magic.
And this is where the magic happens.
The Good Harvest processing plant has been up and running for over 8 months. It contains both industrial and clinical operations on a site the size of 4 football pitches.
Hey, are you Mick?
I certainly am. Pleased to meet you, Greg.
Very good to meet you. I'm here to learn.
Right, come this way and I'll show you how it all works.
I want to see everything.
Oh, you will.
Mick Ross oversees the production line and is in charge of over 60 full-time staff who engineer roughly 50,000 steaks every day.
So come on then, Mick. How on earth do you grow human meat?
I want to introduce you to our nutrient vat.
Hello, nutrient vat, Greg Wise, telepresenter, and your job is?
Well, what its job is, it processes thin slices of tissue in a nutrient-rich mix, which you see here, and then cells start to grow. So over a 24-hour period, these will slowly fuse together into one great big, what we call a cake.
So you're telling me that that is...
Now I was on Al Gore's internet and saw this shit. Certified human chuck burgers. Now, allegedly, they've been ST people all the time. ST, you know, trafficking. People been getting found, murdered. People just been missing all over the country. That shit say certified human. Y'all don't find that suspicious, dog? Cause I made a video a while back about when Macbeth, when did he die, and burger disease was giving y'all them cheap-ass burgers. And how when I travel the country, dog, I don't never see a lot of cows every motherfucking where. And there's too many restaurants and too many motherfucking grocery stores selling beef. And ain't no fucking way they get into your body. And people wondering why they all stressed and depressed. In purple, it's people. 10-mile radius. Smaller than that for real, it's like every 5-mile radius, dog. There's hella restaurants where I live at, every motherfucking where. And I'm 1,000% sure it ain't enough motherfucking cows for all that beef, dog. Now look at this one. See how they got the wording on that motherfucker? In purple, it's people. And then you got the green that say, for the meat. You put it all together, it's for the people meat. Quality meats made from people like you. On the package. And you're buying that shit. And that, see right there, that's why everybody's so batshit crazy. And going insane and shit. You know when you eat these meats, right? You taking on the stress that came from the individual, meaning a person or the cow, from when they died, all that, and if they not an NPC, YouTube either.
What you're seeing here is the first restaurant where they're selling human meat. The people who ate it say that it tastes like pig, and it's in Tokyo, okay? Get right with God, people. Get right with Jesus. Jesus coming soon.
If you look at their menu, why does it have crosses beside all the burgers? What the fuck does...
Those little crosses say that there is a disclaimer, and if you look somewhere at the bottom of the menu, in this case, it's right underneath sweets and treats. And if you look at the bottom, there's those two crosses, and it says weight before cooking is 4 ounces each. And if you look, there is a single cross.
Hey, you ready for this one? No, not the sun, it's beautiful. You want to know how you can actually turn a generation into carnivore zombies? It's gonna sound crazy. It's gonna sound crazy. But the Bible said they would eat their flesh, right? How do you do that? Well, you begin to grow lab meat. That's one. But also you begin to grow or make human steaks. You begin to grow human meat in labs as well, just like the other meat as well. Now that's one, okay? Now if you're a vegetarian, you're a veggie, and you don't want to eat no flesh, or you don't want to eat no meat, well guess what? They made it simpler for you. They liquefy the dead people and put it into the soil so that anything that you eat have particles of human remains.
This is an underground human meat burger factory in the United States, where they knock people unconscious and put them on a conveyor belt and do simple sterilization, coated with secret spices and sealed with plastic wrap for a week. When the meat is thoroughly flavored, they push it into the meat grinder. With the meat grinder running non-stop, the tender meatloaf is continuously delivered, and finally, after the chef's wonderful cooking, the juicy hamburger is delivered to the guests' tables. Unsuspecting guests are still lamenting that there is such a delicious taste in the world, and they even want to swallow their fingers. But how so many meatloafs are served? This film is the latest suspense thriller movie in 2022, The American Holocaust. The male protagonist Jack is a chef at a burger restaurant, although the job is very boring, but the good income still makes him happy. He and his sister Xiaomei were both born in the United States, but this still can't change their status as illegal immigrants due to the lack of visas. The mother can only survive and do the dirtiest and most tiring work, but her sister is very competitive, and she has been admitted to Columbia University. And being admitted to such a prestigious school is undoubtedly a good opportunity for them to change their fate, but the reality is so cruel. Just as everyone was celebrating Xiaomei, a group of heavily armed Furberow suddenly broke into the house and arrested everyone, and her sister's college dream was shattered because the governor ordered the deportation of all illegal immigrants, born in the United States or not. The city was in turmoil, as there were as many as 2 million illegal immigrants living here, who were held in a large iron cage waiting for the government's next decision. Jack saw his sister being taken into a bus, and no matter how loudly he shouted, it didn't help, so they separated, and Jack was locked up here for I don't know how many days, and finally was brought into the office by a blonde lawyer, and the family was in a terrible situation. He will be subject to endless detention and deportation from the government, unless he can accept to volunteer in a nursing home, and if he behaves well, he can obtain obtain legal status for his family, and Jack agrees to do the same with several young people. Purple-haired little sister Camilla, Dick Man, Chris Mixed Society, Macho Man, Big Black, the last vegetarian Sarah. However, the management here can be called hell. Everyone is put on a positioning foot ring, and can only move in the specified area. At the nursing home, Jack saw an old woman in a wheelchair. She started her day's work, and she was ready to accompany the old woman to see Shura, and he opened the book and read it, while the old woman began to mumble to herself.
Proof humans aren't designed to eat meat.
In the World Health Organization, it says that if you eat meat, it will cause cancer.
So all processed meat, which most meat is processed, because it has to be. You gotta think, if you slice something up or kill something, there's no way possible for it to last the length of time that it lasts. I mean, if you run a dog over out there and come back 2 days later, it's gonna smell, look, and have things coming out of it. It goes into rigor mortis, and then all of a sudden it starts to break down. So how is it that meat can be in this grocery store for weeks and days? Because most of the meat you're eating, it's in there in the process for months. They didn't just slice the animal open and then brought it over to the supermarket. And you know, sometimes when you go in there, you'll see the meat, it'll look sort of gray and brown.
Yes.
That's the meat that the dye has ran out of it. You have to spray it with dye. You got to think, anything that dyes is going to change colors. It can't keep its color because the color is coming from the blood.
So this picture is showing, out of all the science fiction movies and whatnot that are based in different times, it's showing what year we are in relation to what movie was based in that year. So look at the list real quick. So it's saying that we are at Soylent Green, 2022, right? Now look at this scene from the movie Soylent Green.
In the year 2022. Nothing runs anymore, nothing works, but the people are the same, and the people will do anything to get what they need.
This is the police!
What they need most is Soylent Green.
The supply of Soylent Green has been exhausted. Return to your home!
They're making our food out of people. Next thing they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them. You gotta tell them.
Promise, Tiger, I promise. I'll tell the exchange.
You tell everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them. Silent Breed is people!
Lab-grown meat coming out in the same year that a movie was based where they eat people.
And information on that, the FBI has been following for 3 days. Here on 7 Action News, is a Detroit business buying and selling human body parts illegally. And what was inside the business, it may shock you. 7 Action News investigator Jim Kurtzner is live with the very latest tonight. And Jim, is this part of that investigation? Is that winding down at all yet?
It is indeed, Jeff. Take a live look behind me. This is what's left of the FBI evidence recovery team inside this car. And take a look at this vehicle. We believe this is the owner of the business just returning to take back possession of his business. More on that in a second. But take a look. Another busy day out here on Detroit's east side, just down the road from City Airport. Sources say they have removed several boxes of what is believed to be human remains. Sources say many people. This was a big operation. And get this, inside this business, a saw used to cut up bodies, it is believed. All taken away as evidence to the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office, where it will be tested. This business is known as International Biological. It advertised as a medical educational service provider. The owner is Art Rathburn. He has a mortician license, has had in Michigan since 1982. But the big question is, did he get human bodies illegally? And was he selling them illegally? Just moments ago, the owner, we believe, showed up. I tried to ask him some questions. Mr. Rathburn, will you talk with us? What do you have to hide, sir? Now, sources tell me the FBI is not out here on a fishing expedition. Mr. Rathburn is not charged with any crime. He is not in custody. They did search his house in Grosse Pointe Park on Wednesday as well. How could he get bodies that are not donated to science? This is shocking to the funeral home industry in Metro Detroit. We're going to have more on that part of this story next hour at 6. Jeff, Carolyn.
I don't know when y'all gonna listen, but hear me out. There's a reason why these fast food restaurants had to change around their look and their names. Take a look. What that say? What does that say? It says Popeye's Famous Fried Chicken. You notice they changed it to Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Why you think they did that? Be fucking for real. For y'all that's gonna be like, oh, they went through a rebrand. Oh, be fucking for real. Here's another example. Colonial Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken. They changed it to KFC. Why would they have to do that? Come on now, y'all. Use this. Ain't no way y'all still think y'all eating original chickens and meat. That's been gone. And all that stuff that they put in the meat, go look at the ingredients. I guarantee you can't count how many ingredients on your hands. And I guarantee you some of the stuff you ain't never even heard of that they put in their food. And not just chicken, y'all. I'm not out here just talking about chicken. But in the fruits, in all foods now, they have buku ingredients and stuff that they putting in there. That's why it's important for you to check the ingredients before you buy. Because nowadays, the FDA approves things that you wouldn't think is humane. They're allowed to approve certain stuff and change around certain wording so that it doesn't seem a certain type of way. But y'all better start doing your research. Because I bet you didn't know that natural flavoring that they put on all that food and stuff like that, they taking it from animals. That's what the natural flavoring is. And y'all gonna be disgusted when we discover or when we talk about where that natural flavoring come from specifically.
I have no idea. Maybe it's turned to dust. There's the sack that it came in. That was the wrapper it was in. And that's disintegrating more than the hamburger is probably. There it is. My gosh. It hasn't changed. The pickle's the only thing that's disintegrated. This is actually the receipt. I had to put it in plastic. It was just gonna be gone. Do you want to smell it?
Hell no.
Had only a faint smell of
cardboard.
Cardboard, yeah.
The hamburger is 20 years old.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to seeing it like this?
Scary.
I'm gonna show y'all something, man. This shit crazy, right? You know how y'all be going to McDonald's and Wendy's and shit, eating chicken nuggets and chicken sandwiches? Well, I'm gonna show you how they make this shit. Alright. Mechanically separated chicken. Now watch this. This is chicken nuggets and chicken sandwiches and shit, man. That's what they make that shit with. Y'all, please share this shit, man. This shit is unhealthy.
Would you eat that now? I couldn't wait to see the mysteries that...
Hey, did you hear?
Right here, this map displays cannibalism legality in the United States. I usually get on Alaska, but they're actually normal in this case. I'm really about to get on Idaho. Because what are you guys doing down there to the point where lawmakers felt the need to make it illegal? Nowhere else in the country did people feel the need to make this illegal. Because nobody's doing it. It's not a problem. There's an Idaho lawmaker by the name of Heather Scott who actually wants to expand the cannibalism law. She believes that the human composting going on down there can lead to straight cannibalism. So she's trying to make it illegal to sell the flesh and blood of another human being to people that don't know or consent to it. Now, mind you, it was made illegal by Idaho in 1990. And in every other state, the ingestion of a human is not illegal. But you can be charged with desecration of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and even murder, but not for eating them. And if you go to Catholic Mass in Idaho, I would suggest skipping out on the communion. You have to think, a lot of states don't have a law against it for survival cases. Survival trumps taboos, I guess, most of the time.
Used as crash test dummies, that sentence used in a lawsuit against a former Phoenix body donation business.
Today I learned that cannibalism is technically legal in most of the US. In 49 states, you will get in no trouble whatsoever by eating human body parts. There are no laws that strictly prohibit the consumption of human flesh, organs, or blood. You can't, of course, neither kill someone for it, nor desecrate a body. But, other than that, it is completely within the limits of the law.
Accused of selling bodies and body parts. A trial set to begin in just months. And tonight, new grisly details of what the FBI